What's up, everyone? Adam Gelman here. We have an amazing panel here for tonight. I love doing these videos. These are probably my favorite thing to do across all of wrestling cards because there's such a vibrant community and there's so many people that have feedback and perspectives and experiences that I think everybody needs to have access to, not just from an educational perspective, but just from an overall perspective. And tonight we're going to focus on probably the best of the best, right? What was the highlights of the year for 2022, the best sets, the best cards, what you guys are loving, what you guys brought to your collections in 2022 card year. So even though we're in March and even, it's not necessarily the end of the year and we've already done our year in review, the card year actually just ended with Panini Immaculate, and we all saw what happened there. So really awesome way to end it. And I wanted to bring together some of my favorite people to have sort of this roundtable discussion on what they loved about the year. So I'm going to start with Chris here. Do you want to introduce yourself and just we'll go around and give everybody an idea of who you are and where they can find you?
Surely. Thanks for having me. I'm Chris_Brancato on Twitter and Boomerang Arrows on Instagram, and I'm excited to talk cards.
And Chris, you are a huge Seth Rollins collector, so I'm excited to see kind of what you have in store. There's a lot of people that I follow that love Seth Rollins, and your collection's amazing. Kevin, you want to go next and introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Kevin, New York Roadshow on Instagram. Far less active on Twitter, although I know that I need to get better about it, but it's also New York Roadshow on Twitter. Watching wrestling my whole life, avid wrestling collector now, and sort of just focusing on whatever catches my eye at the minute. It's not like a main athlete PC, more just whatever I'm feeling in any given moment for a
Yeah.
certain set.
And Kevin, you have an awesome Instagram account, an awesome shop in New York. I don't know how many people know how big into wrestling you really are. Like this is
Oh my
probably a
gosh,
coming out party for you.
no, definitely. And it's funny because, like I try and keep I run my account through the shop's account. So I try not to just throw wrestling stuff in there all the time. But like recently, my pickups have just been F1 and wrestling. So it's like, okay, that's what my followers are going to get a lot of. But also, in the stories is, oh, hey, this is new in the shop today. So
Right.
it's a mixture, but no, it definitely, the card community is a place where you can more openly nerd out about wrestling, and it's socially accepted. So definitely fun.
Yeah, and you're one of the few people I've actually been able to meet in person. We got together at the Tops party at WrestleMania, so that was awesome to see.
Definitely.
Yeah, and glad to get you on one of these new face to the channel. Very happy to have you. Thank you for joining, Jameson. You've been on here before. You're becoming a veteran here, man. You want to introduce yourself as well and talk, maybe opening a new shop too.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Appreciate the invite again. Happy to be on and have this discussion. I'm Jameson Long on Instagram. I'm Exquisite Sports Collectibles. Also, I'm now Port City Sports Collectibles. That'll be the new shop. So more to be coming
Congrats
soon about that. Appreciate it. Look, very excited about it. And then on Twitter, I'm JLong2356. Not quite as active, but I get around a little bit on there as well. So looking forward to talking a little EMAC tonight and year-end panel discussion. So it should be fun.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you. One absolutely crazy collection too. I think that's the best part of having this group together is you guys all have such amazing collections. Your Roman Reigns for Jameson has some of the cards that I think got most of my interaction for the year, but it's a great time. Ryan, my partner in crime, how you doing, sir?
Always awesome. Happy to be here. It's going to be a fun night. I'm looking forward to this. You can find me on Instagram at Non-Sports Showcase. No Twitter. You can find me on there, and I just basically show off wrestling and my non-sport collection. So it's gonna be fun.
Awesome. And I'm Adam Gelman again. You can find me at WWE Gelman, the home of my enormous Becky Lynch super collection, or you can find me on Twitter at SC Uncensored. Excited to bring this group together. So let's start off the discussion now with sort of your initial feedback. What was your experience of the 2022 card year? This is the first year for Panini. I know we've had a number of these panel discussions sort of talking about Panini's impact on the hobby, on wrestling cards. But Jameson, if you had to sort of categorize 2022, what was your feedback on the general card year overall?
I would say finish strong. So I think, with the initial burst of Panini on the scene, I think what dominated a lot of the early conversation was price, things being absorbently high, especially with the release of Prism, and we saw the rise and the crash. And so that's what kind of dominated kind of the airwaves. And there wasn't really, then Revolution was the next product, which is a nice product, but it kind of just felt like it flatlined for a little bit. And then I think Chronicles came out, and I think it shocked people. I think people were pleasantly surprised by just how much value that product delivered.
Right.
And excuse me, I kind of stepped over Select as well. Select was an awesome product.
You missed the big one.
yeah, sorry. Select was a great product. I think from a aesthetics, from a price point, and then some of the chase cards were really awesome. Rolling into Chronicles, and then we just, just to I kind of cap it as the first year, Immaculate, even though it kind of ran into 2023. But, Panini didn't really start till April. But if you're looking at like a 12 month, just to kind of end on a bang with that, I think it kind of, came out strong, flatline, but then we kind of got our groove back. And I think dialogue switched to being more about the cards than about the price, which I think is always positive for a collector and from a collector-based standpoint. So.
Yeah, completely agree, man. Like, I think, like, listen, I was all in on Prism. I love Prism, but man, like, you get into Revolution. NXT was another one. Impeccable was kind of the ramp back up, right?
Right.
So, I mean, I feel like Topps ended on a huge note with Transcendent and all the other stuff there. Just an awesome product. So coming into now we're hitting the stride coming into Immaculate. I completely agree. Kevin, what about you, man? Like, what was your year like for WWE?
I agree spot on with Jameson. I think the analogy that I have is it was a roller coaster, right? It really was, because it almost seemed like, and bad product is not in my vocabulary for any of the WWE releases, but the weaker products like Revolution, in my opinion, the NXT product, right? There was still some hidden gems in there. Some of the dual autographs in the NXT set are amazing. The Triple H and Shawn Michaels tag team card in Revolution with them doing the chop is one of my favorite pictures on a card this year. But it's sort of you had this where Prism out of the gate scared people, right? And it was wait a second, is wrestling going to now become this sort of rip and flip product, or will it stay with the collectors? And it sort of corrected itself. And I think in my opinion, the best value of the year I thought was Impeccable, personally, because the high level autos in there, granted some of them or most of them being redemptions for the top tier guys, didn't help necessarily, but I feel like the value that you were getting if you were ripping Impeccable either by the box or the case was really good. And then Immaculate sort of just blew everything out of the water, where
right.
I mean, I will tell you spot on, right? With Immaculate, I did not expect the relics to hit as hard as they did. And I know we're going to touch on those later.
We will, yeah.
I feel like that's going to be at least 50% of this conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
But just absolutely unreal. And I mean, it's, you never want to draw the comparison between companies and what they're doing. But if you look at when Prism first came out, I was in the camp where I was maybe I should just be buying Topps red refractors, which are doing a fraction of what, low numbered Prisms are doing now. But then it sort of seems like the market corrected itself, and sort of the value of cards, there's still incredible value in some of the higher end guys and gals, but it's sort of where it should be now versus, the $10,000 off the gate for a rock gold, where maybe it's worth that, but maybe, we'll see what the market dictates once the second or third one is listed.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And I think the other thing is when you look at the market correcting itself, everybody's looking for it to snap back to 2017. I just don't see that happening. But I also think we're at a spot now where people can operate, right? There's a little bit of room here where you don't have to spend, if you're an Otis connoisseur, you can get your Otis cards. You can get your Otis cards for a fraction of the price of the Rock, or whatever. And that's the fun thing about wrestling, is people have these PCs that are built around single person, myself included, but it goes all the way across the spectrum. Montez Ford, you know, guys like that, which aren't like the top of the card, but they're still widely collected people. Chris, what about you, man?
Yeah, I think sort of to just echo everybody's sentiment, it's been a learning curve, I think, as anything would be with its first year. Prism had its mixed reactions. It was the complete roller coaster that maybe some of us anticipated, maybe not. Looking back in retrospect, I feel like that was a great set. There was a lot in it that I liked, especially as a Seth collector and the imagery that was used. Thought it was top
Yeah.
notch. I thought that example right there kind of allowed Panini to sort of set the tone and show how they might operate in a different way from Topps. Because I just think on a consistent level, their photography has just, and the images that they've used has just been, you know, some of the stuff we've never even seen since God knows when, you know, never mind on a card or whatever. And then just transitioning throughout where we went from there. I liked Revolution. I liked aspects of Revolution, like I think a lot of us did. But I think that something like Revolution and even NXT gave certain people, maybe even kids, the opportunity to get in at a price point that was affordable, that was more comparable to Topps. So while it maybe didn't necessarily pull all of our adult eyes, it might have worked in that favor as well to sort of add versatility to Panini. And then as we made our way over from that, I feel like that's when they really sort of found their groove. You know, Impeccable was super clean. It appealed to the majority more than it did to me, just because I have that whole hang up with the numbers associated with times that might change, especially for like Seth
Yeah, I've
Rollins,
heard
you know.
I've heard that. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're beautiful. I mean, they're beautiful cards, and you know, select to me, as of right now, I know it's a super bold statement, but it's probably my favorite wrestling card set that of all time. You know, of all time, flat out. Um, I thought it was. I mean, I could talk about that one for a whole show alone.
You're not the only one to say that either. Like, I don't
Yeah,
think that's necessarily becoming a bold statement either. Like,
yeah,
there's been
yeah.
other people that have said, hey, like, Select really just hit it. And you mentioned the photos. So the guy who actually curates the photos for Panini actually reached out to me on Twitter. He's like, listen, you guys have been given such great feedback. Thank you. It's really made me feel good about this. And like,
That's awesome.
yeah, he really is a fan. Like he goes and tries to find photos that haven't been used before, and WWE gives him a lot of stuff too.
Hmm.
So I think that partnership has really worked out well, especially for Select. Immaculate too has had some great
Yeah,
photos.
yeah,
So
yeah.
good call outs there.
Yeah, Immaculate's been a knockout, but like I said, I'm sure we're going to be talking about that one plenty.
We will. Ryan, what about you, buddy? Like what's been your impression of 2022? How have you sort of made it through the year?
I really think that it was a home run. If you take it the entire body of work in, all the sets look great in their own regard, even the ones that people maybe fell flat on. I mean, I like Revolution. I think I like the shiny stuff. I do. I'm a big fan of Galactics. My only question is, where do we go from here? The year one, I mean, we have 2 years left. So year one was really, really strong. We just got the Revolution preview. They're adding kabooms to beef that up. And I really think that I hope we're not in for a letdown. I really don't. And as far as the AEW stuff, you know, the EPAC really took off with the AEW match data moments and the new arrivals, and they did a really great job on there. The resale on those is not very good. I'll talk about that in my segment. You really have to collect that stuff because you like it. If you're looking to pay off a car, it's probably not the option for you. So
Right.
we'll get to that when the time comes.
Sounds good. So yeah, so I think we brought everybody together tonight to sort of share their favorite cards from the year. And I think we're not going to talk about like, hey, this one particular card, unless it's part of is that one set is the card. But like, it's we're looking at it from a more holistic perspective. Like, hey, this set, this subset, this type of card really just blew me away. And we all had so many. Like, it was tough for me to pick just a few of them. But I'm going to start with Kevin. Like, all right, you had your top cards for the year. Where do you think everybody should take a look? Because you had sort of a much better experience in X, Y, and Z versus, maybe just, hey, ripping packs and flipping cards, whatever. Like, what were your top sets of the year?
Of course. I mean, so I'm gonna start with echoing what Chris said earlier. Like, photography in cards matters, right? Like it absolutely does. And one of the sets, in my opinion, that captured that the best was Immaculate Moments. And I love the way that, the set checklist was small. There was not a bad name on there. And even the weaker selling cards on the checklist, like a Kofi Kingston, like the moment of Kofi Mania with the New Day lifting him up,
So cool, yeah.
with the championship, like value doesn't matter on that card just because it's so cool looking, right? Like
Yeah.
and I think that they absolutely hit a home run on that one. The one thing that I am bummed about is, and because I hit it as one of my case hits in one of the cases that I did, the Hogan Immaculate Moments
Jameson and I were talking about that.
is the body slam. It's from the Andre the Giant match, the body slam, but the photo is just him throwing a punch and you don't even see somebody in the background. So like I wish that they had, every single other one that we've seen so far, right? We haven't seen Roman, we haven't seen Goldberg, and we haven't seen Cody, because those are redemptions. I can assume we know what those moments are going to be for a lot of those guys, but like, I wish they had chosen a different photograph for Hogan, especially because in all of the other sets that he's in Immaculate, the pictures are so cool. So like that one was a little bit of a letdown, but like that set from top to bottom, Kane with the unmasking, I feel like that would it captured great moments. And I feel like, it runs the gamut of, there are the affordable cards in the set, and then there are going to be the more expensive cards in the set. So it's something that everybody can sort of dip their fingers in, because it has a nice range like that. I mean, I don't know, does anybody want to chime in on that set?
Yeah, because like Jameson and I were talking for a while on just what those moments could be, because a lot of them were redemptions, right? So you had a few of them, right? Jameson had a few of them too. Like, this was when you were unboxing those, you were like, look at this, look at this, look at this.
I was before we actually knew what the moment was, I mean, obviously a lot of signs pointed to Andre Hogan. But then when I started thinking, and this kind of goes to Ryan's kind of point, like, where can they go next? When we think about Hogan's career, I mean, you could do a moment set next year. You could have him the stare down with Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania 6, or you could have Hollywood Hogan standing next to The Rock at WrestleMania 16. So I think, there's so many ways I can still go with sets like this. It was a bummer.
Jump into the WCW catalog with that and do like Hogan's initial heel turn. It's the possibilities were endless for him. So to see that
NWO Bret Hart, no one
yeah. I am obsessed with that card. Ever since I saw that live, I am obsessed.
That's a note on my list to talk about that triple auto. It's phenomenal.
It's so crazy.
Hopefully we get a Goldberg Bret Hart duel next year.
Oh my God! When Bret can take off that, what did he wear? It was like a Back to the Future.
The breastplate.
The breastplate. Oh my God.
Yeah.
But isn't that really what's great about Panini coming into the market? Is that I know that Topps reuses a lot of images, and we see the same images over and over again. Panini's bringing a fresh take. They really are. And I mean, I'm for it. I've seen images of Macho Man I haven't seen ever, and they're all in new cards. And as great as Bret Hart is in the pink and black, it's so cool to see him in a different different setting. And it's just something new and something new corner for somebody's collection is to say, okay, I have 50 Bret Hart autographs in the pink and black, but I've also got an NWO one. So I mean, I'm for it.
Yeah, and as somebody that's like sort of on the newer side to cards and not as experienced with things like redemptions, I sort of, for whatever reason, had this built-in, I don't want to say pessimism, but it was almost like I didn't anticipate the card to blow me away. So to first see that card pop up and have it just completely like far exceed my expectations and go a direction that I didn't even see coming was a really unique feeling for me. It was something that I haven't really, felt in cards yet. So I thought that was a major plus.
Yes, I agree. And Kevin, I think calling out these immaculate moments, I think when I looked at the checklist and I saw Hogan and Goldberg and Kofi, and Cody. I mean, Cody is a recent moment, right? That's
Yep.
obviously going to be his debut in WrestleMania.
Mhm.
Cody Vader, just coming up through the floor, like something like there's so much potential for these. I agree with you. What are some of the other ones on your list that you had?
Yeah, so after that, I think my second favorite was the Prism Iconic Rivals dual autograph set checklist.
Oh my
And I
God,
know
that
that
thing was,
I
yeah.
know they were sort of, the immaculate dual autos and triple autos with a lot of them being on card sort of might have pushed the Prism autos down in some people's eyes. But I mean, just the colored parallels of those are awesome. And that checklist just absolutely hit on a different level where there was not, even the weaker ones were still good because you look at it, it might be, I think Prism might be the only set where Walter was Walter before he became Gunther. So like,
Right.
there's something in that with the Panini, but like some of the classic pairings, the Triple H Mankind, the Triple H Shawn Michaels, Michaels Austin Hart, like just a ton of really great callbacks. And I feel like they didn't even have to like make those complicated by, adding more to them. It's just picture of the guy, no mention of what the rivalry was or whatever. And wrestling fans just sort of knew because they were that
Iconic
iconic of
pairings.
a
Yeah.
matchup. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Love it.
I absolutely loved that set as well. The third one on my list is gonna be fun just because I feel like it is a single card, like you mentioned, the Bloodline booklet, right? And I went wild trying to get this booklet in breaks. Jameson, do you have one?
I do not. No.
Okay.
No.
Because like there like the first week that Prism was out, like I outside of Cherry Collectibles showing their one, like I hadn't even seen one surfaced. And I
They pulled one on day
sadly
one.
they
Yeah.
did, yeah. And like I'll sadly admit that I am like at this point 0 for 15 in Roman Reigns spots and breaks, trying
Oh,
to
wow.
to chase that booklet. So it would probably have been cheaper to just buy it at this point. But like Jameson said
There's no
earlier,
fun in
the
that. There's
chase
no
the
fun in
chase
that.
is significantly more fun, as I literally bought a Roman Reigns spot 5 minutes ago on eBay. But the reason why I like that booklet and what it does is if you think about how many factions you could capture in booklet form that are strong enough to be a chase for a product, right? If Immaculate next year, if it's the Hart family, right? Like, or you can
That's a good
go
one.
NWO with the 922 members, right? Like you can have one of those top
This-
38
yes.
auto booklets with every person who's ever worn the NWO black and white. Like, DX is another one. And then you start to think like, can they do DX with a China cut auto in it, right? Like, and it sort of just opens, I know not a lot of people love booklets, but I feel like this Bloodline booklet being received so as well as it did sort of opens up like the option that Panini can sort of headline a set, just be like, check this card out. It's really
Yeah.
cool. Go chase it.
And there weren't any other booklets. I mean, Jameson, you're a Panini veteran. Like you've had a lot of experience with this. Like it's rare that they just create a configuration of one card in a triple booklet, which are insanely expensive to make. Like, I can't think of another product. Can you that has just one booklet in it?
Panini wise, I don't know. I don't think so. I remember Upper Deck doing a few, I think, but with like old 1920 New York Yankees team that had like Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig on it.
Murderers Row. Yeah, they had
Some of that.
Murderers Row,
Yeah, Murderers Row type stuff, but not in the Panini era. I don't really can't really recall anything off the top of my head like that.
Yeah, because most products are built around booklets, like Playbook for sports, where you're guaranteed a booklet
Right.
per box, or anything like that.
Right.
So to see them, like you said, add to the production, throw a booklet in there, I'm pretty sure, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, there's no parallels, so it's just a
No.
straight 25 of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is
Yeah,
really
that's it,
cool.
correct. Yeah.
So
Well, there's a one-on-one, right?
No,
There's
there's
not.
not. I
No,
don't think
just
there is.
that.
Just
Just that.
25.
No.
Yeah, just
Mhm.
25.
Yeah,
That's
so
crazy.
I think that sort of that makes it really
It's a
cool.
statement piece.
And it's a statement piece in a set. It's something
Yeah.
that can pop on a sell sheet when you're trying to sell product. And I think, they can get away with doing one per set, or sort of, if you wanted to, if we fast forward and we were talking about ways that Panini steps it up, like if you come out with a flawless WWE and you do a booklet that's just 3 cuts, right? Like on the 3 panels, like something like that. But I think that, we've seen Topps do booklets. They've had some really nice ones as well, but I think like this Bloodline booklet just sort of, for me, shows that the next step in booklets and wrestling cards can be really cool potentially.
Yeah, I think this is one of like those statement cards because I loved the Four Horsewomen Transcendent frame card, oversized. That was another just kind of like statement piece card, all on card though. This
Yeah.
was a different type of statement piece. It had what, 8 autographs? I don't know if anybody remembers how many of the bloodline they got.
7.
Seven.
So 3,
Seven
3,
autographs.
1. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just cool. So, yeah, I think, and like for this great sort of understanding of kind of like this is a place to start the discussion for sure. Is there another one you have on your list?
Yeah, so my final one is sort of, it turns into, I loved it last year, but I have grand visions for it for the future that I don't see happening, but would love if they happened. So it's the prismatic entrances from Prism. And again, we talk about photography, we look at the checklist for that. I think Panini knocked it out of the park. You have, your comedy entrances with Riddle on the scooter, and then you have your awesome, bloodline with Roman throwing up the 1. Like there's so many nice cards
That's a
in
cool
there.
set.
The
Yeah.
one thing that I would love to see with that going forward, and I think would be amazing, is, I don't know if a National Treasures single release for WWE is in the plans, but for National Treasures for other sports, what they do is they do a moments basically set as a base set where they do, whatever
Ryan
it
talked
is.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so if you could do that for entrances for WWE, and instead of having them be vertical, you have them be horizontal, and just focus on sort of like a top stadium club where it is a full art image and then just a rundown of the entrance on the back or whatever. I think that would be, if you 130 point thickness that with acetate, like home run for me. And
I
I
would chase the
really
hell
think
out of that.
exactly right. And just think about what you can do with that, right? Where like if you expand to the wide view, essentially, right? Any of the Triple H Mania entrances, right? Like I know he's not with the company, but one entrance that jumps out at me is like when Rusev drove in the tank at WrestleMania,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Like
I forgot
if
about
you could
that.
have that as an image, right? Like there's so many iconic, I mean, Triple H with Motorhead, right? Like there's so many really cool entrances that you can call back on that I feel
Maybe
like
we'll see some of
Panini,
them this year. Yeah.
right, exactly. And I feel like Panini, they scratched the surface. They did an amazing job with their initial offering, but I'd love to see that sort of transition to a more desired chase set versus one of the lesser collected insert sets.
That's a cool idea. That's a cool idea. Yeah, thanks for those picks. Great start to the conversation. All right, Chris, I'm going to go to you next. I think it's kind of a little bit of a different direction because I saw what you had sort of listed there. I think it's going to be a good next step. Why don't you start with your top picks here, and we can sort of socialize those as well.
Sure. And just as a heads up, Kevin, there does happen to be a Bloodline booklet sitting on eBay currently.
I know it's a little bit more than I wanted to spend
Yeah,
on
I
it,
know,
but
I know, I know.
I'm
I'm
sure.
I'm really curious to just follow the trajectory of sales prices on that card, really. I'm
And
not,
there's enough of them that you can. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
I'm not usually too tied up in sales prices. I mean, I generally just strictly collect, but I think that one could be interesting over time. But
Yeah,
yeah,
go ahead, man. Like I
yes,
think you're right. I think that's a good segue into this because I think Immaculate is really you have a couple of Immaculate cards on your list. I
yeah.
saw, but like yeah, I agree, man. Like looking at the pricing and everything, like they've started high, then they've kind of like gone really high, and then it's kind
Mm-hmm.
of been already, but they haven't really fallen off yet. So we'll see
Yeah,
what happens.
yeah, yeah. All right. So yeah, to segue into my cards, my first pick would definitely have to be the Zoo Prince for Select.
Oh, I love those. Yeah.
Yeah, coming from when I first got into cards, which was a few years ago, first revisited cards, it was a few years ago, I was primarily collecting basketball and baseball. And for me and my budgetary limitations, if I wanted to get somebody in basketball in a zoo print card, it was challenging. It was if I could make it happen.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, nice sight. If it was somebody that I could afford, it was somebody I didn't really care about. So to see those come to wrestling and to be able to flesh out my Seth collection with those cards has been fantastic. I mean, that's probably been my favorite moment for my Seth PC. I'm 2 cards away from the full zoo across the 3 tiers.
I love that we call it the zoo.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
I
so
need
great.
I need the Tiger Concourse and the Elephant ringside, and then I'll have all 9 of them. But I mean,
Really cool.
it's been a fun chase, and I think I mentioned this to you. That's what I like so much about Select is, at first I know the general feeling for the super collectors was shit. This is daunting as hell. Like, how am I going to get?
Right.
You know what I mean? And I felt
Yeah.
that way myself. But what I've learned over time is that even if I don't get them immediately, which is probably the smarter purchasing decision, it's been a super fun chase that's going to keep me going for months and years to come, maybe, like
Right.
trying to fill in my rainbows and whatnot. And the price is becoming more affordable for now. It's made it just an ongoing thing that's been really fun. And so that card stands out the most for me with my favorite set.
Well, Chris, you need to get ready, because if I know Panini, there's going to be a lot more zoo editions in
Yeah,
2023.
I'm ready.
I
I'm
hope
ready.
so. I kind of hope so. I was
We're gonna
never a
have
big fan of those. And
Dragon
like coming,
feathers, cow prints. I mean,
cow prints.
Give me
what's
it all. I'll take it
cheetah?
all.
You
Yeah,
laugh.
yeah.
It's stuff
What's
they've
stopping them?
done in other sports where there's been the green dragon scale in optic basketball. There's been, in
The
optic
peacock,
baseball,
yeah.
there's been a lot of the peacocks, right? Like
Yeah.
they love them some farm / mythical animals. Like they're all
We're
over
gonna have
it.
a chupacabra. Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
the gargoyle print.
I'll
But I
take
think,
it.
and that's what's
The
so,
Bigfoot edition that you can't
yeah,
see in packs, like, right? Like
yeah.
it's
It's just a blurry photo. That's just that's the card. But it's like those. Like I remember those in basketball when they first did the tiger prints and the zebras and stuff like that. I never liked it, but like coming to wrestling, I think it fits a lot
Yeah.
more of kind of like the pageantry of what WWE is all about. I love that there's a retail component to Select that made that product worth ripping. I think I ripped more of the retail Select than I did the actual hobby because I was
Mm.
chasing those animals. Like those things are
I
so
had
hard to get.
I had such terrible luck on the retail side.
I did too.
Oh, so bad. But yeah, so that's my first pick. To go into the second would have to be the obvious jumbo relics that we were just talking about. I mean, what can be said about it that hasn't been said already? The relics were just knockouts. That's another example, I feel like, of nobody saw that level of detail.
No one saw it coming. Yeah.
And I think it kind of was like shell shock because people didn't know what they should spend on them, and I think that they were hitting high prices early on for cards that weren't super rare, that were to 50 or whatever. And it's still carrying over to an extent with some of the really, excuse me, some of the really knockout patches. But you know, other than that sort of initial shell shock feeling, another cool aspect of it for me was that it was bringing eyes to the product from people that don't typically collect at all, that don't collect cards. Literally, I have a friend that was big into comics, he still is, and comic art, and we collected together. But he has history with cards. He knows cards. He used to collect UFC. He stopped for a while, and those relics brought him back. I mean, and now
Oh, crazy.
now he's super collecting Rhea. I mean, and he's patching together. He's literally patching together pieces, and he's like,
It's funny how that happens. You
he's
just fall head first into a
yeah,
super
no,
collecting.
it's he's piecing together all these little pieces from the vest, and he's circling the specific spots and sending me these images, and he's got it figured out to the point where I pretty sure he just won that superfractor on Golden. So he's like,
Oh,
he,
did he? Nice.
yeah, he's all in now. I mean, and it's really cool to think that it's bringing those sorts of eyes to it. You know, my other friend that doesn't collect cards at all just randomly sent me the Usos double auto card because it just caught his attention on Twitter, and it's like that to me is a really cool feeling, and that to me says that you're doing something right.
Yeah. And I can't think of another out of 50 relic card, no matter how crazy it is in any other sport that was selling for, what did those sell for? Like $800. I
Yeah,
think Roman,
yeah,
Ben sold the Roman for what, Jameson, like $1,300 or whatever,
1,500.
1,500
1,500.
bucks.
yeah.
Like these are out of 50. These are not rare cards. Now the pieces are rare, right? Because they're only like four
Right.
pieces per relic per wrestler or whatever it is that they use probably throughout most of the year. So like they're not like 50 of these shirts going around like they do for the rookie premiere in NFL. Like there's a very limited amount of these shirts available. So you're getting really unique sort of pictures, and they use different shirts. So Roman has a bloodline shirt. But and the Usos have the bloodline shirt, but then you have Rhea who has like the awesome like face, shirts and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
one time where
Yeah.
all of these awful wrestling shirts are finally making it worthwhile to own. Like I've seen some of the ones they put on WWE Shop, and I would never wear them in public, but having them on a relic card is awesome. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
all right, Chris, what else you got, bud?
And lastly, it would just have to be the triple autos. Just I mean, strictly on an aesthetic level. Like they're just beautiful cards. I think that they're just have any of the are all the quads redemptions?
No, I don't think so. The Money in the Bank
I'm
one was live,
blanking.
right?
Like which quads have surfaced so far at this point?
The Money in the Bank women's one with all of them holding the case. I've seen that one live.
Okay.
Have you guys seen any of the other ones?
I know
I'm gonna look at the list real quick.
the one of one Lesnar, Riddle, Shayna, and Ronda.
Oh
And
wow.
that's a redemption. So that one's not live.
DX is a
Um,
redemption.
Yeah.
DX is a redemption.
Attitude
I'm
Era is a
trying to think of-
redemption.
I'm only asking because to me the triples look absolutely beautiful, but then I'm also recalling the fact that I haven't really even seen the quads. So
I think the Usos and the Wild Samoans is live.
Oh,
Okay.
that's a
I feel
good
like
one.
I've
Yeah,
seen that card.
that's a good one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that one's
Okay.
weird because it
Um,
has like, and there was like two different colors too. So they had like red on the top and blue on the bottom or something.
Mm-hmm.
From what
Mm-hmm.
I remember.
Yeah. I think the Usos and the Street Profits might also be live as well.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure, but I think they are. I know all those guys have live autos in the product, so I think it's live, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like I've seen that one before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'll have to
I think the
surf,
triple
surf
autos
for
are
it.
awesome.
Yeah, the triple autos are beautiful. I mean, just everything, the layout about them, the colors, the way that they're used with the refractor portions. I mean, it's just everything about it. I mean, where does your Becky card rank in your collection? And well, let's
It's
say
on the shelf. It's on the
yeah,
shelf, so
yeah.
it's high. Yeah,
Like
it's
it's
on
just
the
a
shelf.
knockout, you know, and then
Yeah.
obviously the NWO card that we talked about, and then the Dudley's card, and like it's
How did that card get done? Like, none of those people are with the company anymore. Like,
I have
how
no
did they
clue.
get Spike Dudley to sign a fucking card? Like, that is incredible.
There were
It's
a
so
lot of
crazy
So I
because
thought
like
too.
Billy Gunn is missing from the DX card, but you got Jeff Jarrett, who is even more active in even more active in AEW right now.
He must have
signed.
He must have signed before he went over to AEW. He probably signed that card months ago.
Yeah, probably.
And Billy Gunn's been with AEW for
Of course,
while
yeah.
now, so
Mhm.
Jameson, what were you gonna say?
And from what I heard from a buddy of mine that I know at Panini, he told me that the active roster the WWE is very involved with arranging those autographs. But with the retired guys, it's pretty much Panini handling all that stuff. WWE doesn't really get involved with those signings. So, you know, I think most of the Dudleys, even though they don't work there, are on a pretty good relationship with the WWE.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. So I think some of those are easier than probably we think.
I think Devon is still with the company. Maybe he left and came back or something as a producer, but
Yeah.
I know Bubba Ray, now Bully Ray, is on Busted Open, and he's also on Impact and stuff. So Spike, is he like a real estate agent somewhere? I don't even know, used car sales.
Yeah. He's got a real job somewhere. Yeah.
So I love the triple autos.
You guys are probably the guys to ask. I mean, you definitely are the guys to ask. I have not seen, it's on the checklist, and I know Ryan called it out in your last Immaculate video. I have not seen a single redemption for this Seth Rollins, Triple H, Stephanie McMahon number to 10 card. I haven't seen one redemption. So I'm wondering.
Interesting.
Does it definitely exist?
I've seen a couple of them.
I've
seen a couple of them.
So there's hope.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
I've
seen at least two. I feel like I've seen at least two of them. Yeah.
Okay. Good to know. I mean, I locked in the Cody Seth redemption, which was a top card for me. To get that one would be fantastic.
You better buy your Panini points.
Yeah, I know.
Buy your Panini points, because it's going to show up.
It's going to show up one day for points.
There hasn't been. I say this all the time. I'm like a broken record at this point, but there hasn't been, or maybe there has, and that Wayland dude has it. But I haven't seen one select one of one yet.
For Seth?
Yeah, for Seth, for Concourse, for any of the tiers. I haven't seen one yet.
Interesting.
I know Ryan Bannister picked up the Prism 1 of 1
I saw that.
at the Chicago show this past weekend.
Yeah, I was just there yesterday. Yesterday.
But I haven't seen for Select yet either.
Yeah.
Chris, I'm not going to break your heart when I show you this, am I?
I knew there was a possibility. Go for it. Oh, man. All right. Well, hey, man. I don't know if that's a keeper, but I'm your guy. Not putting on you the spot, but I'm your guy.
See, and those are some of the cards that I think, like, when you look at Immaculate and you look at the general structure of kind of where they put their investment for that product, right? They really made the value drive into cards that never would have had value anywhere else in any other product, like the relics at 50. But then you also have like these insane chase cards, dual logo, memorabilia, autographs. Like, never in a million years would I have thought we'd be sitting here and the end of Panini's year talking about a card like we saw with, like, I know that the LA Knight Gunther one was pulled. There was a Viking Raiders one that was pulled. Like, those cards are just insane. I think, Jameson, you showed me one where it was like Brock was a matte relic, but Seth was a logo or something like that. So,
yeah, who was on that with him? Was it Seth with him? It might have been. I can't remember who it was.
Brock and Seth have one together,
Yeah. I just saw there was that triple that you were asking about, Chris. One sold on eBay on February 27th for $700.
What? How did I
it was an auction. It was an auction from Hong Kong. So
there you go. If you don't have your international searches set up.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's what my issue is, because I'm noticing that trend. Fuck. Gladly spent that.
I had to wait. I had to get my triple from Australia. Cherry sold me their triple one. So somehow it got to me in like 5 days from Australia. So I don't.
Awesome.
There's hope for everybody. All right.
You didn't know Grayson runs the mail, like, out of Australia. Like, he also owns the post office there too.
I didn't know that. That's probably why. All right, Jameson, you're up, buddy. Where do you want to start? You've got some good ones.
Thanks. All right, yeah. So I mean, some of them have been touched on a little bit already, but just the whole. I just kind of rolled it all into one and just did the whole multi-auto kind of checklist for Immaculate. I mean, the Prism was a great start, that Kevin touched on. I mean, really some iconic dual autos that really needed no explanation of why they were together. But then when Immaculate came, you got a little bit of that, but then you got some really cool ones that I think maybe you wouldn't necessarily. But then when you think about it, one that really sticks out to me that's a fun card is like the RVD Matt Riddle auto.
Yes.
I mean, how cool of a card is something like that, And then, the one card, on the duels that we thought, is this card actually going to get made? the Hogan Iron Sheik. I mean, with the
Yeah.
way that relationship is, or is portrayed in public, at least on the Iron Sheik side,
Right.
you're like, well, these guys actually sign a card of each other,
and not
so for that
write
card to
something
already,
obscene. Yeah.
yeah, for that card to be made and produced, I just think was awesome. And just some of the way, again, touched on DX quad, that card, there's like a triple and then there's a quad of really like the heartbeat of the Attitude Era. I think you have one with Shawn, Triple H, and Taker, and then you have one with Stone Cold, Mankind,
Undertaker.
Taker, and is it Triple H or Shawn? I think it's Triple H.
It's Triple H, yeah.
I think it's Triple H, yeah. So, because Shawn kind of left right at the beginning of the Attitude Era, really, anyway, after that match with Stone Cold. But, I mean, just such a cool card, and these cards, I think it's going to be one of those things where these cards are selling now. You see a product come out, initially it sells real high, then everything starts getting ripped. Then you have like a little bit of lull where like some cards probably go cheaper than they should, but then they end up in like collections. And then you may not see some of those cards. There's only 5 of them. You may see one every couple of years. And I think they might really break the bank, especially when they're live. I think the redemption is probably keeping prices down somewhat now. But when those cards are live, and I think most of those cards are going to get signed no problem. Right now, we're just in WrestleMania season. So it's just a fact of getting them on the schedule. I mean, like, I doubt Triple H has time to sign 1,000 cards right now while he's booking WrestleMania. So when that stuff settles down, I mean, and those cards are live, and when you're able to see what images they used and all that kind of stuff, I think it's really going to drive those cards, especially those triples and quads, to a whole nother level.
Agreed.
So I'm
100%.
excited to see those cards.
And you see collectors just driving themselves up a wall, like Chris is saying, like, I have to have this card for my collection because it's going to look amazing in my display case. It's going to look amazing on my Instagram page because it's just a gorgeous, as Chris was saying, it's a gorgeous card. And that's why, even though I was focused on so many different things in Immaculate, trying to like piece together things for my collection, I had to get one of those triples because it's just awesome. And I have a quad, right? So I have the 4 Horsewomen quad. I still got the triple because it looked awesome.
Sure. I mean, if you're a super collector of, like, I'm just thinking of 2 guys that are like pretty big PC guys, like a Shawn Michaels or a Triple H. How could you not want to have that DX quad
exactly.
with what that meant to their career? I mean, that was literally kind of what made Hunter, and then that was such a pivotal role in Shawn's career. So, I mean, how could, so there's only 5 of them to go around. Well, 6 if you count the 101, but I mean, that's not a lot of cards.
I still feel like that card's incomplete though without Billy Gunn and China. I can't get over that. I'm a completionist. So if I want that card, it has to have DX on it. And it's just as awesome as it is, and as awesome as it's gonna be when it finally appears, to me, it's still incomplete. Just
Ryan, I 100% agree. And I almost would have went with like the second iteration of DX where you just did the HBK Triple H duel and had them as that, like, later on when they came back with DX, because like I had mentioned with the booklet, right, like, save that card for when you can get as much of it as you can, and whether it be including China as a cut or doing just the guise of DX, again, incomplete, but at least
it's better
fuller.
than
It's just a weird pairing, because I mean, maybe an unpopular opinion here, but like, X-Pac is the worst member of DX, right? Like, I mean, can we all agree on that? I like him for what he is, but like, even if you would have swapped that X-Pac with Billy Gunn to make it New Age Outlaws and Triple H and HBK, like, I agree that like that card is absolutely going to be amazing, but it does sort of feel like something is missing a little bit.
But Ryan, you asked nonstop for how many months on these videos saying, I just want Triple H and the Attitude Era DX. I have a sinking feeling that this is going to be that one card that you've been asking for, and it's going to be the quad out of 5. It's going to be like $1,000 card because,
well, but going back to what I said previously, the card, as awesome as it's going to be, doesn't appeal to me. It doesn't, because it's incomplete. It's an incomplete card. That's all I can say about it. What I do want is I want a Triple H card from the Attitude Era in an Attitude DX picture because I don't want bald in a suit Triple H cards.
Right.
I just don't. So
Well, you just sparked my memory because we have a Triple H is in Immaculate Moments, and we don't know what that is.
Yeah.
So is that going to be the MSG return in the denim jacket with the leather? Do we get that Triple H maybe, which is
Army
decently
helmet,
close?
Triple H. See, that's
Right,
what I'm
like-
hoping for the DX squad. I want them all in the Army helmets, but Sean wasn't part of that segment. I think
Right.
that was after he left, so I don't think we're gonna get it.
He's
but I think
also
that
in
would
the
be-
he's also in the all-time great set. That's another opportunity where he could, who knows what image they can pull out
Right.
for that, because with Hogan they used a pretty early on image, I think, for that all-time greats card. I actually think that's one of his coolest images in the set.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love that card.
Yeah.
So I'll keep it rolling to my next one. The other one was the Jumbo Relics. I'm not going to beat a dead horse. I think we've talked about that a lot. It's just really something we haven't seen from WWE. Definitely not from the top stays. And I know you talk about them like being out of 50, like you could, but they're kind of all uniquely one-on-ones at the same time as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because to get, I think what the one everybody's searching for is they want the wrestler with the face on the card covering
I
the whole
want that
card.
one. Yes, absolutely.
Or like, if one of them is like the Roman card that Ben pulled, where it's basically the whole WWE championship, and now Roman is just synonymous. I mean, I was talking like with Brett earlier, and we're talking about the Cody Roman, and we were like, who's going to win? And you kind of feel like Cody's going to win, but it also feels so weird to say like Roman's not going to be the champion. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be weird because he's been the champion for so long that it's kind of hard to conceive what the show will look like without him as champ. He's almost, they have the saying, does the belt make the wrestler? Does the wrestler make the belt? At this point, it's almost like Roman is the belt,
Yeah.
So it's just
especially with the
really
rumors
cool
that
card.
Triple H hates the belt, and he wants to retire.
Yeah. So we'll see. Lot to be decided there, but I mean, just an awesome set, really cool set, and unique. And then my third one, which I think was almost kind of like a prelude to what we got with the Jumbo Relics, was the Prime silhouette set from Chronicles. With one of my, personally, from a personal level, one of my coolest pickup of the year was the Roman 101 from that set, which was very similar to Ben's
the National
Jumbo Patch
Treasures,
Relic. Yeah. Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, the National Treasures. I'm sorry, I said silhouette, but I meant National Treasures.
You're good.
Yeah. So the National Treasure set really was like a prelude to that Jumbo Relic set, just with an auto sticker. Yes, unlike what you're getting from Immaculate, but still, some of the designs and some of the patchwork in that set are really cool.
Awesome.
And it gives you that vertical portrait setting, not the horizontal setting, which I think Immaculate did a great job with the horizontal setting, but collectors seem to prefer a vertical setting. It's just the way the hobby has worked for a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, always.
And
I know I had that same exact thought. I felt like this set did great value for horizontal cards because there is that stigma, but I feel like people kind of let go of it a little bit with this set.
Yeah. Agreed.
So the National Treasures, like that is a hub. Like Kevin, you run a shop, what National Treasures means to the hobby. To get something, right? It's thicker. I get it. But it's still National Treasures. It's something that's been around. It's a hobby standard for decades now. It's not exquisite, right? Like hopefully we'll get with AEW eventually, but this is one of the biggest sets that Panini makes. And I think Jameson calling that out is a really good sort of segue, because you're not a sticker auto guy. Like you don't collect sticker autos, but you bought that chase card.
Yeah. There was two, obviously WWE is a little bit different. I don't usually buy stickers. I bought two stickers. One was this, one was a set you'll talk about later. I won't talk about it right now. I know, but I mean, sometimes the card just overrides the sticker, and I make concessions. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was a cool set. Even I thought the base cards for National Treasures were a great looking set.
Yeah.
Outside of the picture they used for Andre the Giant.
We
I don't know
talked
what
about
was
that
going
a lot.
on.
Yeah. The magazine photo. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was horrendous. But and then my last one, I kind of wanted to get away from kind of the kind of patch set was, a lot of times with the Prism sets, it's all about the base parallel set, and the duels were cool. But I thought, and a lot of times, sometimes the Prism autos, especially I feel like in the major sports, are kind of like cheesy looking. But I thought they did an awesome job on that Champions auto set.
Oh,
for Prism.
love those cards. Yeah.
I mean, that was one. I mean, like, the Austin image is awesome. It was definitely a different Taker image than we're used to,
I pulled
the
that
Hogan
one, yeah.
image. Yeah, the Hogan where he's kind of holding the belt and almost looks like he's jumping out of the card. I thought all the imagery, I love the Roman. I have the white sparkle version of that. I love that card. I just thought top to bottom, like every single picture from Charlotte to Becky, all of them, they really crushed it with that set. I mean, the only thing you could have done to make that I feel any better would have been on-card autos, right? I mean, on-card autos are always better, but outside of that, I thought it was just a winner of a set, and I really, really like those cards.
Yeah, those cards are awesome. And I'm a sucker. Like, I love championship themed cards, and Panini did a shit ton of them this year. Like they did, and I'll talk about them when I get to my picks here. But like, that was the first one, and I knew it was going to be a good year when the first set of the year had these champion themed cards. So yeah, good pick, man. And I have the white sparkle too.
I agree. I agree with the with that being a chase auto set in Prism, just because like for other sports, right? And like when you're day to day in shop life, and people are like, "Oh, I opened Prism, football, but my two autos were Vince Young and a second string tight end, right?" And like the answer to that is like, people don't buy Prism for autos. Like, believe it or not, it is an expensive product, but you're buying it to chase color, essentially. But yes, having an awesome looking autograph subset, which the sports usually don't have, added value, in my opinion, to a lot of the autographs, where you don't normally have that on some of the other sports.
I think that was a problem for wrestling collectors to wrap their head around with Prism.
It was,
I think because previously with Topps, it was so autograph driven, and now you're basically changing lanes and saying, well, no, everything is wrong. This is about an unsigned gold card number to 10. And the people coming from the inside understood that. The people with experience in the sports world knew that, and they understood it, and they accepted it. It's the way the product. I mean, you're right. It's
the way it is.
Color. It's based around colored parallels. But the people who were ingrained in the wrestling community couldn't wrap their heads around the fact that this unsigned card is worth 50 times what the signed card is.
Right.
Now, maybe with 2023, now we've kind of had a little bit of education, and that thought process will be adopted a little bit more, I think. I do expect 2023 Prism to be a better product. So, but it's funny how when you talk about the wrestling community, it's so different. It's so different than the mainstream sports. And I think now that Panini has ushered in this era of bringing all of these popular sports-based sets into wrestling, and they've been accepted. There's no way to say they haven't been. And I think we're going to see a real kind of changing of mindset with the wrestling community.
Yeah, I agree. I think I see all the time right on Facebook groups, as I'm sure you guys see as well, but like novice collectors, and like I'm in an AEW card group, and people are like, well, why would you grade a card that the autograph is already authenticated? Like, there's no need to grade it. And then like, somebody grades a card and it grades like a 6, and they're like, well, what do I do? And so for me, having like the hobby background, I'll always take the time on Facebook to just be like, hey, this is why people do that. Boom, 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 right? Like, but it's sort of, yes, like it's like Ryan said, it's shifting the mindset, right? Like of these new folks who are trying to come into card collecting because of these amazing new wrestling products, and sort of, a lot of the hobby as a whole can sort of just be, a boys club where everybody sort of just stays in their own lane and isn't willing to, pass on knowledge. But I feel like the wrestling community, for the folks who are involved in cards, is the exact opposite of that, where when you talk to the right people, you walk away with a full education that can help you further your collecting journey or start your collecting journey.
Yeah.
So it definitely is about shifting the mindset of folks who are new wrestling collectors. And I agree, 2023 Prism, especially at the price point that it looks like it's going to release at now, right around 300 a box,
Much better.
is going to make that, we'll be talking about that product next year, I'm sure, as one of the absolute home runs of the product year.
So we're coming up now on a little bit over an hour. So I want to make sure that we have enough time to get the rest of this done. And Chris, you're a new collector too. So like I can see sort of the parallels of kind of what you've said on some of these other videos to what Kevin was just saying too. Any just quick feedback there? Like, do you feel like entering in from the hobby, because you were a comic guy, you were in that, like, what's been your sort of feedback sort of coming in the same sort of vein?
And particularly in wrestling.
Yeah.
Um, early on, it was, it felt like everybody was more on the same page. And then Panini has kind of sort of, you know, people went certain different directions. Some people embraced it and some people didn't want nothing to do with it. And that's fine, I guess, at the end of the day. But I feel like it's entered a weird territory right now. And maybe that's part of how these things go as a lifespan continues.
Sure.
But it's still, it feels like it's hard to say. It's hard to say what direction we're going to go in. I mean, I feel like either people are going to have to adapt to it or they're going to have to go a different direction completely. And I mean, I think that a lot of people, from my takeaway from what I saw, is a lot of people were scared of price points with Panini, with the transition from tops. And
Good point.
I think that it's showing, as I sort of touched on earlier, I think it's showing that there is something for everybody within Panini.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's
And
like
there should be this kind of hierarchy as well of like, not everything necessarily has to be within your affordability range, and that's okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't have to, like, of course it would be great if everybody could afford the super high end stuff, but like, there's still plenty of opportunities to get fantastic cards. So I can't predict what's going to happen for the future, and I hope that more people let go of their closed-mindedness, but I can only speak on my behalf, and
Yeah. It's a good point.
Well,
I'm having too much fun to be concerned with the negativity of it.
the dichotomy that Panini has created is incredible, because you have people that, like Chris said, they accept it. I think you're looking at 5 of them right here. They accept the new wave and what's going to happen here. But then you also have people that continually bash the products. They bash them. And it really is a fear out of price. It's also a fear of not having the knowledge of the products. That's what it is you have people who are stuck in the old and the past. They don't want to learn. They don't want to know about new products. They just want to sit there and bash. But then you see them opening it on social media. You see that? They say, "Oh my God, Immaculate is garbage." The next post, I opened 2 boxes.
Yeah, right.
So
here's the reality. Can I just touch on something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Of course, yeah. Please.
I know we're running. So here's the reality where I think Panini gets a little bit of a bad rap, and I think it's more so of timing than anything. Is when they got the license. Is we were seeing this infiltration of speculative pricing going on to Star Wars, to Marvel, to everything.
F1, yeah.
And it happened to coincide, and the top stuff was already starting to move up because Chrome was like, you could get it for $70, then it went to 80, then it was 100, then it was 120, then it was 150, then it was 200,
right.
In the secondary. And it just happened. And people would say, oh, well, it's pumping because Panini's coming. It was pumping because everything was pumping. And then on top of that, if you don't think Fanatics, Topps as fanatics would have had the WWE product. If you don't think things like Topps Chrome and stuff like that aren't heading to $200, $250, $300 a box, you haven't watched what's happening in every other sport. So
Exactly.
outside of the initial Prism pump, and because of the Prism pump, Revolution got priced too high out of the gate. But after that all kind of dust settled, I thought everything Panini put out has been respectably priced. I mean, Select was under $200 a box. Chronicles was like $130 a box. Immaculate has been in that kind of high 3s to mid 4s range and kind of stayed there with some great secondary sales. So I think what happened was just how it happens in politics and happens in everything else in the world. People got a hold of a narrative. They don't want to let it go.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
They don't want reality to ruin their good time. You know what I mean? So I think there's a lot of, you have to take a look. And again, I know, and again, I'm not trying to, wrestling has been this bubble, but the bubble bursted, the outside got in, and it's just what's happened to the whole hobby, investing, whatever you want to call it. It all blends in together. And this was going to happen regardless if Topps or Panini had the license. So I think Panini catches a lot of flack about this rise of cost because of Panini, but none of their stuff is really priced any different than Topps products if you look at it.
Yeah.
And I think there's no way you can't say that Select, Impeccable, and Immaculate were nothing but home runs.
Right.
Absolutely.
Across the board. I don't care about your bias. I don't care about whether you don't like the people who talk about Panini, you don't like Panini, whatever. Those 3 products were home runs. And I would even argue that at the price point, Prism is pretty good too. But if people think that they're going back to $60 Heritage boxes when Fanatics shows up, they're sorely mistaken. It's not going to happen.
Exactly.
It's not going to happen.
And that's what's so interesting about this is like, I don't think there's enough experience and education within the inside collectors who literally only collect wrestling cards to have that level of context. It's not a bad thing. It's just a natural situation that has happened across the entire hobby since 2019 going into 2020. And even before that, going into the Panini launch in 2010, like a lot of this stuff, like they took a license away from Upper Deck, this beloved company in NBA. Everybody, like Exquisite is still the standard, right? Even 15 years later. So I mean, like all those things like have happened before, and that's why Ryan and I have talked about them for such a long time here on these videos. Ryan, I want to give you a couple of minutes here to run through your picks. I'll throw a couple of quick ones in there, and then we'll wrap up here.
Okay, I'm going to be quick. I'm gonna kind of go off the only Panini set I'm going to talk about is the one set that was in the Chronicles products. By far the best photography of the entire set.
Oh, so awesome.
It's 30 cards. It's just the photography. Take a moment after you watch this video, viewers at home. After you take a moment, go search the images that are in the Panini one set. Please do, because they are phenomenal. You've got The Rock in his rocking chair or on the stool with the guitar. You've got the iconic Mankind. Yeah,
so
Roman,
good.
Yeah. You have the iconic Mankind sitting on the apron, holding the rope and like pulling his hair, when he used to go insane. You've got Macho Man full neoned out with the World Championship belt. I mean, I wrote him down here. You've got, Ultimate Warrior, another neon everything. You've got Batista holding on, screaming, just completely ripped. You've got Yokozuna slamming Vader. I mean, I really wish we had 100 card set of just one with those base cards.
Yeah. It was so good.
Because what they did was they broke up between, one National Treasures and Noir. They broke up 90 or 100, I think it was 90 different superstars. So if Macho Man's in one, he's not in Noir. So the images were just phenomenal. Do yourself a favor, do some research and just enjoy those pictures because they're fantastic. I also want to kind of jump over to the Upper Deck e-Pack offerings. I'm a big e-Pack proponent. And I think there's still a lot of knowledge that needs to be shared about that platform. A lot of people still think it's just digital cards, and it's not. They do a really nice job with, I'm talking about the e-Pack only. I'm not talking about base brand AEW that was found in stores and now it ends up on EPAC or Spectrum. I'm talking about the ones that are specifically for the EPAC site, and that would be the match dated moments. It's like the Panini Instant for UFC and WWE. They do the pay-per-views and they have tiers, and then as you collect the sets at the end of the year, you can redeem them for achievements. I will tell you at home.
Are you going to talk about the achievements though, and what happened with that?
Let's save that. That's all.
Yeah, I was going to say that's
complete
a
fuck
whole
up.
other.
Complete fuck up. But hopefully they changed it this year. I will tell you at home, wait to buy these singles, please. They're $7 a pack. You get one card. At the end of the year, you'll be able to pick up everything for a fraction of that. And that's Upper Deck's fault. They need to make them cheaper. They need to add more to them. So just wait. It's the name of the game is just wait. Okay. The last thing I want to talk about is I want to give some shout outs to some of the custom card guys in our hobby who are just doing some phenomenal work. The first one is Kevin Gust. Kevin Gust has been at the forefront for a couple of years now.
He does great work, yeah.
Beautiful custom cards. I think he's at KGust61, I think is his Twitter. Definitely hit him up. He releases some really nice sets. This is one of them. This was the 85 inspired playing card set. Did a really fantastic job with this and the packaging. And then he also does a lot of autism awareness for charity. He'll put out different parallels, and a portion of that goes to charity, which is always a great thing. Awesome. Boj is an artist who just came on my radar with his MJF card that was sold through Pro Wrestling Junkie. That's this one right here. Let's see if I can get a good picture of it. There we go. So this is an on-card blue paint pen MJF. This card is better designed than anything you will see in an Upper Deck pack. This card is fantastic. He's doing some great work. He's got a Diamond Dallas Page card coming out soon. And then Pro Wrestling Junkie does a really great job with his website of offering autographs at really great prices. So check them out too. They're not paying me, guys. I'm just letting you know. They're not paying me. They're not giving me free shipping. Right. I think that, BWJ offered this card, this MJF card, is $60. $60.
It's sold out in minutes, yeah.
Right. And so if you didn't sleep in till noon, you know what I'm talking to. If you didn't sleep in till noon, you got one. If you didn't, sorry. But he could offer that card at $150. $150 and they still would have sold out. $60, completely reasonable. The last one I want to talk about is Corey Bastian. Corey Bastian has put together a phenomenal lineup of really some mainstream and some obscure names on card.
He's a good guy, yeah.
Yeah, just a great guy, great service. Here is the demolition card. Signed on card. He gets these done himself. He goes and meets these guys at bars and restaurants and signings and gets them done. His offering has been fantastic. So please check out those guys. Yeah, check out those guys and check out their work and give them follows on social media. So,
all right, I'm going to close. Thanks, Ryan. I think I loved hearing the sort of less mainstream sort of discussion because Kevin and all those guys, they do great work, and they're super approachable too. So hit them up on Twitter. I'm sure they'd love to hear from them. All right, so here's where I'm going to start. I loved what Panini did this year. Obviously, if you followed me on Twitter and you've hated me this whole year, that's probably why. But I think the main things that drove me were sort of the fun stuff that Panini really tipped their hat to, what collectors were looking for, things like the WWE logos. I think the Select Black 101 were the first WWE logo specific set that had ever been created in WWE, with logo patches like the Logo Mans we've seen in Immaculate or National Treasures or Flawless or whatever. We got those for the first time. Jamieson and I, when that Roman Reigns, the first one was Roman Reigns. When that one hit, we both messaged each other at like the same time. Like, holy shit, did you see this card? Like, that's the reaction I want from these types of cards. Seeing that they brought it back for Immaculate with on-card autographs, I just acquired one for my collection that I'm so beyond happy to have. Like, those cards are statement pieces. Thank you. Those cards are statement pieces that go on a shelf. Somebody walks into your house, they see your office, they see that, like, holy shit, that looks awesome. A little bit off the beaten trail, we talked a little bit about retail stuff. I fucking loved the green pulsars from Prism. I thought they looked like the Matrix come to life in a trading card, and the hobby hates green cards. Like they are the most, they're just, no one likes green cards, and like for some reason I gravitated towards those. The retail Prism offering is terrible. Like it's one of the worst retail offerings I've ever seen. Don't buy the blasters, don't buy the packs. It's not worth it. Buy the singles instead, because those green pulsars are worth it. Lastly, I think the acetate cards, because everybody's talked about a lot of my favorites. I'm not going to rehash it, but the acetate cards that we saw in Immaculate were just tremendous looking cards. The holofoil on the golds, the that are out of 8, and for both the single and the jumbo, they're out of 8 and they look awesome. I don't think the first off the line look as good, but they still look really great. But having those just incredible patches in the cards just really make them that much cooler. So overall, like I think this year was so much fun. Thank you guys for all joining on and staying a little bit extra time. I know we ran a lot longer than we expected just because we were having so much fun talking about all these cards. But let's go around quickly. Tell them where they can find you again. Give a quick sign off and we'll wrap this up. But thanks again, everybody. Can't thank you enough for joining on. I know taking time out of your night in the middle of the week is tough, especially with all the kids that we have. So thank you. Jameson, you want to start?
Yeah, just thanks again for having me on. Enjoyed talking with all you gentlemen. Once again, you can find me on Instagram at Exquisite Sports Collectibles and Port City Sports Collectibles, and then on Twitter at JLong2356. Go Roman.
let's see how that plays out. WrestleMania. All right, Chris, you're up, buddy.
All right. Yeah, I'm Chris_Brancato on Twitter, Boomerang Arrows on Instagram, and it's been a pleasure chatting. If anybody's looking to unload any Seth cards, particularly any 1-of-1 cards, Jameson, I'm your guy. But yeah, it's been a blast. Thanks.
I'm so happy you were joined on. Kevin?
Yes, Kevin New York Roadshow on Instagram, New York Roadshow also on Twitter, although far less active. And thank you for having me as a first timer. Hopefully I get the invite back for one of these because this was a ton of fun. So thank you.
Yeah, we're gonna try and do a ton more of these and having new voices added to the fray. Chris has been on before, Jameson's been on before. I love trying to add at least one new person to every conversation. And at least just to balance out my craziness and Ryan's craziness. So having somebody come on and share their experience, especially when they have greater context from the overall sports world, is just so helpful. That's why I think guys, you know, like Chris and me and Ryan, like we talk all the time, and we definitely have sort of an eye on the greater hobby, but the two of you actually are going to be shop owners or are shop owners, and you're having so much experience with collectors in your stores or going to have collectors in your store. And like you have this genuine perspective that I think we will always aspire to have. So thank you both for joining. Chris, thank you. Ryan, do you want to give your final shout out here?
Yeah, I just want to tell Kevin, you got a very calming voice.
Yes, you need to do like ASMR videos.
I appreciate that.
Like I get
I'm
animated.
also trying to keep quiet because I have a 2.5-month-old literally 35 feet from me right now.
Oh, I didn't know that. Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. So trying to keep it a little on the hush side, but I've been told I have a voice and a face for radio. So
I just have the face for radio. I am Adam Gelman. I am at WWE Gelman at SC Uncensored. I also want to give a humongous shout out to Tony for hosting these videos for us on Wrestling Trading Cards Network. Visit his site. Like seriously, this guy puts so much work into this. He gets all of these checklists, all these guys, and Paul on Wrestling Trading Card Guide, Price Guide, another guy who puts a ton of work into this. I want to give both of them a shout out because they host this and they give us a platform to have these stupid conversations with our friends. So, you know, it's always good to give those guys a shout out. I wish Tony would have more time to join these. He's running his own new shop. So again, like a lot of people are trying to find time to participate in the hobby. So happy to have you guys on. We will have more videos coming up. You can imagine when the Prism checklist drops, we'll probably do another one of these videos, and then when it's released and so on and so forth. So stay tuned to the channel, like and subscribe. We're here for your questions on Twitter. We're all very approachable. Please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you guys next time.
Take care.